So today I'm going to show you the MPC2000XL MIDI production center from Akai. These came out back in 1999 and were hugely popular. If you are considering getting one of these, or if you're considering getting an MPC2000, then a lot of the tips and tricks that I show you will also work on the MPC2000, as the XL is more of a revision on the 2000. I'm not going to get too much into the legacy or the story of the MPC2000, but I will say at the core, the MPC2000 is a 16-bit 44.1 stereo sampler. They were factory shipped with 2 megabytes, but you can upgrade them up to 32 megabytes in total, giving you a maximum of 6 minutes sample time in mono, or 3 minutes sample time in stereo. So I'm going to break this down into 6 main chapters. Chapter 1 will be the navigational chapter where I show you how to get around the unit. Chapter 2 will be about sampling, how to get audio into the unit. Chapter 3 will be about programs. Chapter 4 will be about sequencing or recording your beats. Chapter 5 will be about storage, saving, loading, and all the other options that are available. And Chapter 6 will just be a demo noodle where I just make up some beats on the MPC and mess around with some sounds. So if you're not interested in the tutorial, you can skip straight to the noodle using the chapter index in the description area below. So for best results, I suggest you get your MPC2000 near your laptop, put this demo on full screen and put it on 1080p. That way you'll be able to follow the buttons that I'm pushing if there's anything you're not familiar with. So let's just get straight into chapter 1, navigating your MPC2000. Normally when you power on your MPC2000, you'll be presented with this screen here, which is the main screen. If you end up somewhere else by mistake, you just hit the main screen button and it returns you to the main screen. The main screen that we're looking at here is actually a page of the internal sequencer on board the MPC2000. I can use these cursor buttons to navigate up, down, right, left, and if I find a value I can change it with the data wheel. Some values, say for example the tempo field, which is a numerical value, I can use the keypad by punching in a number and hitting enter. So if I wanted 100 beats per minute, I could just type in 1, 0, 0, and another 0 because it has a point, and then enter, and now I've got 100 beats per minute. We also have these function keys under the screen labelled F1 through F6. Now they'll take care of these little features that you can see across the bottom of the screen. So if I wanted to mute the track, I would hit F3, and you can see the track status going from yes to no as I'm clicking it. The other thing is, if I wanted to use my cursor buttons and jump on any of these options, generally there's a lot more options hidden behind them, and you can reveal those by clicking the open window button. Now I've got soft keys and I've got a bunch of other options I can navigate around to as well, and use my data wheel. So if I wanted to close this window, I could just hit F4 for close. And if I was in a pop-out window, I could actually just hit main screen to go back to my internal sequencer page as well. Most of these navigating tricks will actually work on just about any page as well. So if I was to end up on some other page like over here, again I'm moving things around, I'm moving my data wheel, I've got soft keys, or I can just go back to main screen. So now that we've played around with numbers, we've played around with other little options and soft keys, let's try to rename the track so we're playing around with an alphabet. So if I was to open this using my open window, I have another little option in here that will allow me to actually rename the track. And I can use this data wheel, which would be pretty boring, or I could use the alphabet that's hidden behind these pad keys here. And each one of these pads has 2 letters on each one of them. So if I wanted to call the track Tone Lab, I could actually just punch this. And because I want that same letter twice, I would have to use the cursor. And now you can see Tone Lab, and then I could just enter that in with the soft key. And then you can see Tone Lab. Now if I wanted to rename a sequence, I could do the same. I could put my cursor up on the sequence, hit open window for extra options, and I could just move my data wheel, Tone Lab, and then I could do the rest on here if I wanted to. Whoops. and I could use the space there, or I could even do it in lowercase if I wanted to here. But you get the idea. And now another little trick on this particular pop-out page is the copy procedure. So if I was to hit that, enter in the name, close it, and then make another sequence, and then open window, I could actually change the name, but this time I could paste it in to save all that typing. So that's very cute. So now that we know that our home base is main screen, let's have a look at the other pages available to us via the keypad. If we hold down Shift and hit 1, that'll take us into song mode. In song mode, this is where you actually chain your sequences together so that they'll play in a particular order. If we jump over to the miscellaneous page on Shift 2, we've got a few soft keys there. So we've got one tab that is punch, and that's for punch in recording. So say for example, if you wanted to actually come and start recording at bar 3, not bar 2, you could actually nominate bar 3 to actually start recording. And it would actually punch out by another bar number if you wanted it to as well. So if we hit the trans soft key, the trans page is where you would actually transpose a particular track or all tracks to a different key. The second seek soft key is actually where you can queue up two sequences to play on top of each other, which is quite handy as well. So Shift 3 will take us to the load page. There we have some more soft keys as well, load, save, format, setup. This particular page is where you'd go if you wanted to load up some sounds off a disk, or if you've got a hard drive, you can go browsing for a particular sound by jumping in and out of these menus. And again, the navigation system works just the same as it did earlier. So anyway, let's keep moving. Shift 4 is our sample page. This is where you record audio coming into the MPC. Shift 5, the trim page. This is where you could loop, you can crop sounds, cover that in the next chapter actually, so I'll leave that for now. Shift 6. The program page is basically where you gather up your samples and allocate them to these different pads that are on here. So we'll cover that later too. Now I can't jump straight to the mixer from this. I need to go to main screen first and then Shift 7, the mixer. And in here, this is where we set our levels for all our sounds. Or we can set the pan left and right if we're using stereo out like I am here. And again, let's jump into page 8. And we have some other options in here with some soft keys. We can change the contrast. We can initialize all the parameters throughout the MPC, like a factory reset. And we can check the version that we're currently using. And I'm using 1.2. Now let's jump to the last tab, Shift 9. So Shift 9 is our MIDI and sync page. This is where we also have a few more soft keys available to us, but on our sync page, this is where we organize what we're syncing up to. If we're trying to sync another drum machine or something like that. The dump tab probably doesn't get used that often because this is where you would actually send and receive MIDI sysx information. And a long time ago, it was actually worthy because you could send samples via MIDI, but it would take a hell of a long time. So it probably doesn't get that much love these days. Anyway, on to the next one, the MIDI switch. So the MIDI switch page is quite peculiar because you can actually set up MIDI controllers to activate or execute certain functions that are inside the MPC. So you could probably set up something like a foot switch to tap in the tempo or something to that effect. So that concludes chapter 1 on navigating the MPC2000.